Good morning or evening or whatever time of day it is, everybody out there. I am John Kiesling with WIO Support, and we've got our fifth episode we've ever done. I've got Mike and Jackson and Artie as our flight engineer again. Mike, you want to say hi?
Hey everybody, how's it going?
Jackson
How's it going?
and Artie. I don't know if you want to say anything or not, but go for it.
Anything or not, go for it.
Okay, so this is going to be one of those kinds of days. What's the title of today's episode?
Number 5 is alive.
That's right. Love these. Love these throwbacks, I should say. What? Well, what do we have on our show today? And since we're doing number 5, what makes us alive today? We're up on deck. I see we've got uh, Ninja and Huntress, which are some awesome tools that are out there. We've got firewalls and how to use them. What else is on deck, Mike?
I haven't not checked in. I was actually talking to Jackson earlier. There's maybe we'll talk a little bit about some recent breaches that might be in the news. Is that right, Jackson?
Potentially, nothing was confirmed yet, but we could discuss that if it does come up. But definitely something to be on the lookout for.
Awesome. Yeah, so uh, I think probably without further ado, um, oh yeah, there's that one. See that in the chat now. We've got Ticketmaster. They just hit a security breach. Um, Artie, could you tell us just a touch on that story? Just give us the highlights.
Okay, the highlights for that one, Ticketmaster, uh, somebody went on the dark web and dropped a bunch of information saying, hey, pay me for this. It is 560 million user profiles, which include credit card info, home address, uh, I should say billing address, um, full names, very pertinent information, and um, the, uh, the source that I saw that was verified was the Australian government making a statement to the news about it. But outside of that, I don't think Ticketmaster or Live Nation have confirmed or denied that there was a breach. So either they don't know about it or they just haven't reported it yet.
Or do they have a specific timeline in which they have to report breaches? Because
30
I mean,
days according to
they're
the US government.
okay. Is that different across governments? Because I mean, they're an international business. I mean, they I know the UK is they definitely do a lot in the UK.
I don't know what it is in other countries. I know in the US that the time is 30 days unless there are certain caveats in it. It's from the point where the company discovers the breach. So if they haven't discovered it yet, then technically they're in the clear. But at the same time, it's like if they haven't discovered it yet and it's legit, that doesn't reflect well.
That's not good because Spider-Man Data is selling it, and he's selling it for what was it 500 million, but he's limiting it to one
500,000.
buyer. Sorry, 500,000.
I don't know. That's a bargain price for it's a
That's cheap.
thousand. That's 1,000 records for a buck. That's
I think
That's
hmm,
um so to elucidate and educate a little bit regarding the way that some of these um, threat actors like to work, they like to have it as one buyer, and they're hoping that the company does it as a ransom without actively doing the ransom because there's there's worse legal implications if somebody actually says ransom or installs ransomware or anything like that. So it's trying to skirt around just in case they get caught. difference between
Yeah,
like
that
3 years and 10 years.
so somebody's just aiming for larceny instead of grand larceny kind of thing.
Exactly.
That figures. But I mean, what a day we live in when we say, oh, it's only 1,000 for a dollar. I mean, how often are these ransomware attacks and data breaches getting sold? I mean, it's there was a meme I just saw recently where the guy's on the computer, his wife looks over his shoulder and says, "Why are you getting on the dark web?" He says, "I forgot my password. I'm just looking it up."
So I have
Well,
a question. With regards to data breaches, what is something that if your name, your information is in a data breach, what is some way of mitigating that?
And I would almost change the way you ask that. It's not if, it's now that your name is in a data breach. It's odds are. I mean, AT&T got hacked, and they denied it for years. On no, it's not that. No, it's not us. No, okay, well maybe it is a little bit, and then they minimize the size of the data breach, but it's like their entire customer database. Um, so I mean, it's all of us at some point have been exposed. T-Mobile's been breached a couple times. Um, that's not to mention the number of government agencies that have been breached. I know there's some DMVs in various states that have got breached. The only thing we can do, guys, is really just call your credit bureau and put I don't know if it's a lock or a freeze on the account, but set it up so that you have to authorize a credit check. Um, get a service like LifeLock or any of those kind of services. Insurance companies have those as package deals sometimes. You gotta do this. I mean, you can't just have your name out there and say they'll come to me for information. There are people getting credit cards in their name and they don't even know it until they get the bill, or worse yet, the collection agency for not paying the bill. So it's there's no good way around this, and unfortunately, our credit system out there is default. Let people get credit instead of mistrust the person applying for credit and make them redouble and prove who they are. I wish it was, because two-factor on our accounts, great. We should have two-factor on our credit. I don't know. What do you think, Jackson?
I agree with you. There's no getting around it. I mean, it's gonna happen. You're gonna be included in some breach. I mean, the part that I know more of the whole credit thing, that's more of your world. But I mean, the online accounts, you have to have multi-factor set up. Anything and everything should offer multi-factor. If it doesn't, I mean, just don't trust your info on that site at all. Um, yeah, I mean, there's no getting around it. So you just have to. It's the world we live in, and you just have to be prepared. And sometimes you're gonna get pwned, and you gotta. I always try and check every now and then on haveibeenpwned.com. That's a good one. You put your email address in there, and they'll tell you if you've been involved in any data breach. But I'm just scrolling through it right now. You can see they have a page on their website that says who's been pwned. It's the list is endless of not individuals but companies that have had data breaches. And I mean, it's just everybody's data is out there somewhere. So
Yeah,
you can't.
there's services that do dark web monitoring to let you know when your name has been exposed. But I mean, honestly, what are you
Yeah,
going to do once your name's exposed?
yeah, you can't just pick up and move. Like, oh, they know my address now. I guess that's it. I mean, you know, you
I'm
can't
going
go
to
around
change my
changing your
name.
phone number every month. You can't change your name. So I mean, there's gonna be certain aspects of your life that are just gonna be up for sale, and you just have to do your best to keep ownership of your online presence, I guess, is what I would say.
The balance there
What do you
is
think, Mike?
there's a lot of public information that's out there anyway. I just did a lookup. for property taxes. I was doing some stuff with property taxes. And so I went to the county and looked up my property so I could get into looking up some information I needed. And you can click on any parcel and it's going to tell you who owns that parcel. Now, does that mean that that person lives there? In a residential neighborhood, probably, but in other places, probably not, but it's still information. The other thing I was thinking about is that Jackson was mentioning two-factor authentication, and removing myself from technology for a minute, thinking about I've gone to the bank and I make a deposit. Now, I can understand that if making a withdrawal, the teller would then ask me, okay, what's the account password? And I would have to provide that in order to get cash out of my account from the bank. And when this first started happening, when I want to make a deposit and I have to give a password, I'm like sitting there thinking, what does it matter? Anybody wants to deposit money in my account, just let them. I mean, I'll take their money, no problem. But then as I thought about it more, when I've had family members that have had their financial accounts compromised, like a credit card gets compromised or something like that. And so they call their bank or their financial institution to get that taken care of. They ask validating questions like, what was the last deposit in your account? Or something like that, or the last 3 deposits, or what was the last 3 transactions. They look for ways to try to verify that and have control over that account. And so then I got to thinking, well, that's true that if somebody made a deposit, then that would have that on record, and they could then claim, oh yeah, I forgot the PIN number to this card, help me out. Well, what was the last deposit on the account? Oh, it was $60 on
Mm.
the whatever, you know. And so now I have a better understanding of why we need that two-factor authentication, not just in the technology side, but it's a good thing to have just as we're walking through doing our daily living life, trying to conduct business and things like that. And I'm grateful for it. I mean, knock on wood, I hope I never get hacked to the point that I lose tons of money to somebody. And I hope that I am able to keep myself secure so that when the bank does see suspicious activity, they flag it, they give me a call, they say, hey, we noticed this suspicious activity. Was this you? Was this somebody else? Well, I haven't been in Singapore lately, so it's probably somebody else.
Well, you also brought up another good point, whether you meant to or not. But even two-factor authentication isn't in and of itself bulletproof.
Mm.
If what's the last deposit on your account was your two-factor authentication, then they can bypass that. And especially, I've had to get onto my parents for this before. Um, Somebody found out their password, said, "Oh shoot, I got an email saying I was trying to log into my Microsoft account." He goes, "Oh, but it's fine. I have two factors." So I was like, "No, you still have to go change that password. You know, how long is it going to be before they bypass that?
Or, or worse yet, I clicked on the link in the email to reset my password.
Right.
Right?
Good one.
I've actually seen that a couple times, and it's unfortunate when you're standing there next to somebody who has walked down that path. It's like, okay, we have some cleanup to do.
I admit that I've gotten on family members when they've had these emails come to them, and it's like, but I clicked on this to reset it. I'm like, wait, how do you know? Like, you tell me, how do you know? How are you going to prove to me that that email was a legitimate email? How do you know where that link goes? Prove it
Mhm.
to me. It's like, well, it got an email. It had the logo. It had but how do you know for sure? Like, I can go copy and paste anybody's logo and put it in an email. It's
You know
just
that
it's
that's why I like
and for
the
some people, it's a very hard thing for them to wrap their head around that somebody else could have sent that email.
so that brings up a thought. I was watching Security Now a while back, and there's a firewall that Steve Gibson ran into, Atom Firewall, Atom One. Um, it it actually blocks outbound connections to suspicious links. And it's not that it just doesn't let it go through. It actually blocks at the firewall level the traffic going out. So, I mean, there are some really fantastic tools out there to help people. But I mean, it's that cat and mouse thing. There's always a better game. There's always a better cheat to the game. But this one's actually pretty robust. I feel strong on it.
It, John, for everyone who doesn't really know like exactly how a firewall works, maybe explain the difference between your average firewall and then the way that Atom works and how it kind of flips it. Because I think that's the coolest part about it.
Or
is-
even for that matter, like what's the difference between a consumer grade all-in-one router firewall AP combo versus like an enterprise grade? You know,
Yeah, hmm, where to start on that? Probably the easy way is, what is a firewall, right? So you buy a internet service, you get a little modem sitting there, and you plug in, and you're on the internet. There's no filtration between what you do and what comes in. There's no look, there's no check. It's just traffic from your laptop goes out, and traffic from the internet can get back in. Firewall does some prevention of data coming in. So if a hacker is trying to ping your laptop, or you scan your network to see what computers are there, or stream to your TV, Chromecast to your TV, whatever, the firewall will prevent that. It
It's
will
essentially
challenge
someone
you.
going through your mail looking for suspicious packages, right? I mean, that's a
It's more than that. It's more like, I put a analogy of like the TSA at the airports. Every package of information coming in goes through, and has to go through a scanner and X-rayed, and where are you
Mhm.
going? Well, show me your ticket. Are you supposed to be here? And they double check that. And so it's a good thing. And various intensities of firewalls exist. So the home users, they don't need much, because there's 4 or 5 people in a family typically, sometimes more, sometimes less. Um, you got a couple dozen devices, Internet of Things. That firewall blocks the connections coming in from exposing that network to bad actors. Um, so think of that like a TSA agent they got one X-ray machine, they're checking things, but they're just moving fast because there's a lot of data coming through. On an enterprise system, there's multiple layers. You're at an international airport, and you're going through customs, and they're checking your bag 5 times. They're scanning you. There's dogs checking the bags, sniffing the bags for contraband. It's more intense at the enterprise level. I don't know if that makes sense. That help answer it?
I like the TSA analogy. That's good. I never thought of it like that before, but I think that's definitely a better representation.
Yeah, it's because TSA can open the bags and look inside, and they do, right? How many times have you opened your bag after getting to your destination? And it's like, hey, TSA looked inside your bag. It's like, great. I don't know why you had to look at my dirty underwear, but all right, there you go. Have fun.
Thanks for cutting the lock on my suitcase. That was nice.
Uh, but hey, security's got to start somewhere, right? But
Yeah.
I mean,
So
that's probably the thing is, if you've got people that are interested in the security side of things, they're going to do their job well. If you get somebody that's just, you go to Walmart and buy the $30 firewall router combo, um, great. That's not going to be a TSA agent that's on the job. It's just going to be somebody that's there. So
It's
so
a
now
mall cop
what?
versus an actual cop.
I don't want to
That's
disrespect mall cops. I mean, that's I watched Paul Blart. That was a good movie.
I was gonna say, I was like, wow, that's been a long time since I even thought of that movie. That's
But it's not. I don't want to disrespect anybody in any of the security professions, because we've all got their niche, we've all got their expertise, but there is a stereotype to things, right? There's your low budgets, security professional, and then you got your high paid mercenaries. Which one would you want protecting your house? The guy asleep in the car, watching everybody drive by while he's surfing YouTube, or do you want somebody that's in full battle gear, ready to stop any intruder on site?
Comment from
Rambo.
chat. I'll
Rambo,
take
there
Paul
you
Blart any day.
go.
What was the comment?
Paul Blart versus Rambo. There we go.
Hey, Paul Blart, he got him in the end. He won.
It's true.
That's the spoiler alert if you haven't seen the movie. He wins.
Yeah, it's. So I think the key difference between Adam Firewall and the rest is, um, Adam Firewall is like having a TSA agent checking you on your outbound, and in a very serious way, it checks and validates that you're supposed to be doing what you're doing. So instead of, let's use the airport analogy, like you get scanned on your way in, but on the way out, you can stop by the carousel and pick up any bag you want, walk out to your car. Nobody will stop you. Nobody checks your ID. Nobody says where you're going. The Atom Firewall does that kind of check on the way out. So you can't just say, hey, today I'm Paul Blart and I am getting that bag that's not mine and I am going to my car. It will stop you there. So if you click on a bad link in an email, like the reset my password, it's going to take you to nowhere. And the firewall will say, you just can't do this. There's some DNS services out there that do this, but they don't block the traffic outbound. They block you from reaching the name server for that bad actor. But this firewall will actually stop it at the edge and prevent a direct link to an IP address that you don't know. The technology they've got is called "Don't Talk to Strangers."
Well, especially when you consider how much your computer or I mean any device in your network, it does so many things in the background. I think people forget that. I mean, it is constantly doing things in the background, and they're talking to the internet. And so someone would be like, "Well, I never clicked on a bad link." Well, there might be a program on your computer that's talking to server that it shouldn't be, and so that's why Atom is really cool. And especially when you mentioned the ability it could have to completely stop any ransomware in its tracks, right? Um, the way you explained it to me was, say you get infected with ransomware, and it's essentially a time bomb until you pay the ransom, right? And so, but for it to go off, it has to talk to its home base, whoever sent it. Um, so if Atom stops that, then it never detonates.
Yeah, that's one of the really cool features is they infected computers cannot reach back to command and control to find out what to do next. So there's now nothing's bulletproof, but the attack surface with Atom Firewall is way less than it is uh, with your standard home office, small office router. It's just a really cool tech, and I'm very in love with it. So, yeah, I mean,
It's exciting. We'll see. We'll see if everyone else follows suit, right?
yeah,
I mean, I don't know what kind of a patent they might have on that. I don't know if they can patent. I'm sure they can, but
Atom does have some patents. I know Microsoft is also coming out with the zero trust. They call it zero trust DNS, which okay, cool. Microsoft's not a firewall. It's a I don't know how they're going to implement that, but Adam's been doing it for 10 years. I think they have a leg up.
that's very cool. That was as we're talking about that. I don't mean to change the subject again, but that
Yeah.
reminded me going back to the data breach is something I was thinking about. Is a lot of times the motive behind when the people buying, because we always hear like, oh, they're selling data, but like who's the buyer, like who's buying all of this data, what are they doing with it? And I was doing some reading, and um, I mean, that's kind of how they get those targeted emails to certain people, because once they find out where you have information stored or what kind of services you use, your phone number, then they're able to better impersonate Microsoft, and they'll send you an email and say, "Hey, come reset your password. Here, you can trust us. Here's all this information that we should only know." And so that was just a reminder to me of looking out for those phishing emails.
Which
Yeah,
again,
and what's his name? I heard him on a podcast. I know he didn't come up with this, but he said Kevin O'Leary said data is the new oil, right? It's oil was the boom of the 1900s. Now it's data, and there's large companies that are moving data. You can get lots of free services, and you got to think like Facebook is free and Google is free. You can use Google Docs for free, and you get drive space for free. Um, those data centers, those are not free. Those are paid and bought for by um, advertising dollars. They're paid for by uh, you know enterprise companies buying the services because there's actual value there. But I mean, they're getting money off of us somehow. I love the phrase, if you're not paying for it, you are the product. Have you heard that one, Jackson?
Yeah, yeah, and it's especially funny when you think about it with social media, because that is, you are 100% the product, and it is just harvesting everything that you interact with to go sell it to whoever wants to advertise.
Yep. Well, and that I see both sides of that, right? It's if we were selling, I don't know, shoes, we would want to connect our shoes to people that want to buy shoes. Almost everybody's got feet. Everybody's going to want shoes at some point in their life.
Right.
So that means we should advertise to everybody. Well, what kind of shoes?
Yeah, for someone
We
who
sell.
who is selling a product and they want to advertise for it, I mean, this is amazing. It's like, oh my gosh, I can actually reach the audience that I want to, and I'm not wasting money advertising to the world.
Yeah. So I mean, to kind of stitch it past that, because that, I mean, that just makes sense. These bad actors that are taking our data on the dark web, they're selling it to people. They're going to do something with it. We don't know. Could be mining for credit card numbers. Could be running for PIN numbers and addresses, that kind of thing.
looking for job titles. Like I remember my last job that we've had a
You can't
couple.
make one up. You got to look it up.
Yeah, we had it. No, we had a couple of instances where um, we had two locations, two physical locations for our business, and we had our office manager at the second location. Like somebody figured out who was who. They knew enough that, and Jackson, you said about like phishing emails. This is where it becomes spear phishing. They are deliberately targeting a person that they know is in a position of control or responsibility or something, or has access to certain things. So they knew that the boss's wife was a person of prominence in the company, and that the office manager also had this ability, so that when they sent the request to say, hey, we're planning on an employee appreciation gift, will you run out and go buy 20 gift cards, $50 each, you know, and
Tell
it
me all
looks like
the
it's
scratch off the
coming
numbers
from,
and tell me.
yeah, it's looking like it's coming from the boss's wife. Like this is a believable thing. Okay, there are times when the boss's wife has contacted an office manager to say, I have a favor to ask you. We're looking at doing this. Can you help me with this? Right. So she responded to it because she wasn't even thinking, like it just looked so natural and so believable. It came from came from Jane, the boss's wife. It's to her. She's an office manager. It's the kind of thing she does. She responded, yeah, sure. When do you want them by? And then she hit send. And then it was like 2 seconds later, like it clicked in her brain, and she picked up the phone, and the next phone call was to me. And she goes, Mike, I think I just did a boo-boo. Like, can you look at this email for me? I was like, no, that's not from Jane. That's not the boss's wife.
Oh, and that brings there's an interesting glitch inside networks that's being exploited, and I definitely want to raise attention and awareness to this. So you were in the same company, and if she forwards that email to you, it completely changes the nature of that email. So it's no longer an external email coming to an internal employee. It's coming from an internal employee being sent to a trusted, known employee on the inside.
Yeah.
And it unblocks all the security restrictions in Microsoft.
Found new headers, new envelope, new, yeah.
So I mean, that's a real problem out there. So if you're going to have somebody send you, it's got to be like an outside organization. Like if you got a tech group like us, send it that way. That's fine. But if a person sends it to another person inside an organization, it drops all the safeguards. And we're talking firewalls, right? There's a firewall inside Microsoft, inside Outlook, that will prevent your system from sending and receiving bad information straight out of the gate. I'm sure you've seen the click here to download pictures. That's a good thing. But if I forward it to somebody internal, there's no click here to download pictures. It just downloads pictures. So there's been some red teams that have got into networks, penetration testing teams. They get into networks because a phishing email is forwarded to the IT team. And the worst case is that IT team is using an account that it has super user permissions on the network. And just by somebody doing the right thing, by forwarding the email to their tech team for review, the entire company is infected. So it's one of those real sticky points. You got to train the team well.
Yeah, and there are some other tools. We talked about Huntress, right? Huntress, are they the ones that do email monitoring? So what
They've
kind
got
of
some
like
email monitor tools.
Yeah.
Huntress is a fantastic tool because, in full disclosure, we use Huntress with our customers. It monitors for persistent footholds on the computers. So if a hacker gets a way into a computer, there will be a little program running that reaches back to command and control, saying, "Here I am. What can I do?" Viruses can propagate this way, other things like that. Huntress is not an antivirus. It's more of an anti-ransomware tool because viruses act a certain way. Ransomware works a different way. But it works in tandem with an antivirus. The cool part is these guys are very good at their job. A success story that I heard of recently is a manager at a company got compromised. That's another one we should let everybody know about. They were logged into a hotel's Wi-Fi. They did everything right. They typed in their name and room, and they got on. Huntress, within a few hours of that event, said, "Hey, this user's email address, their 365 account, just logged on over a VPN, one of the paid VPNs out there." They said, "We've been monitoring this user's behavior. This is out of norm. We're blocking this." And not only did they block the activity, but they shut down his entire 365 account, and they did it in just minutes. A human intervened and shut down the account. So I mean, these guys are really good at what they do, and they're there to help fight the good fight.
That's impressive. That's pretty cool. But then you got to go
It-
through all the trouble of resetting everything, which is never fun. But I mean, it's better than
Happy to do that part. Oh my goodness,
Yeah.
if it was one of our clients, I would much rather hold their hand through resetting passwords than picking up the pieces of a hacked life, right? It's like, oh, somebody ran to the bank and all your money's gone. I don't know how to console somebody in that situation.
yeah. That's
But if they got the annoyance of having to reset a password and two-factor authentication, I'll do that all day long. Well, I didn't mean that to be the end of the conversation, but I guess there it is.
Yeah.
No, it's fantastic to find some of these tools that are out there. I won't share with all the tools we use because not everybody gets all the tools. But Huntress is definitely one of our core pieces of technology. It costs more. We have to charge our clients more because we're using it. The licensing is super critical to us. And even after hearing this story, it's like it paid for itself thousands of times over. I mean, this person was able to recover their account instead of, like I say, recover the pieces of their life. Or worse yet, all their data is published on the dark web.
and the cycle continues.
Yep. But yeah, it's a fantastic time because we're watching a lot of people pick up the torch for cybersecurity and run with it. It's great to watch the interest and enthusiasm that's out there because um, there's always a new angle, there's always a new technology, there's always a new way of protecting and blocking things because there's always going to be somebody who finds a way around that problem. I shouldn't say it, around that security measure. So you can't take a security measure and rest on it. You got to always innovate. You've always got to be in the know. You've always got to keep your eye on the prize.
That just reminded me of my least favorite time I got hacked into. Now this was I learned a hard lesson that I already knew, but I decided to ignore, which was keeping all of using different passwords across different accounts. I had the same. I think I had two at the time, but I mean, of course, you have like 20 accounts. So I remember I was going on a camping trip. I was in North Dakota, and my phone had 7%. I had no way to charge it, and I was about to uh, hit the sack for the night, and I checked my phone, and all of a sudden I have 10 emails. You're trying to log into your Apple account. You're trying to log into your Microsoft account. You're trying to log into everything. I was like, oh no. I was like, that's not cool. So on 7% with limited uh, connection, luckily I had two-factor set up on most of those accounts. So I don't think they actually entered in. And when I got home, I did a more thorough check. I was sitting there nervously changing passwords as fast as I could on all these accounts. But I mean, it's just not fun. But it's like you said, I was grateful that they actually didn't get into anything um, because of two-factor, which just saved me from who knows what. I mean, I had some credit card information saved on a couple of the sites. I think I was on Newegg. Yeah, they got into that. I mean, they got into everything. Amazon, I think, was in, but luckily they couldn't buy anything.
Yeah, that's one of the lessons I learned early on is don't let my credit card stay in any system. Because if it's in Newegg and they've got your record, somebody gets your name and password, they just bought themselves 17 brand new laptops. It's just it's convenient, but I think it's simplicity, convenience versus security, and those aren't the same. Pardon me.
Bless you.
Thank you. That happened faster than I could reach the mute button. There it is, guys. 5 episodes, and I got a sneeze on record. So,
5 is live.
so you said that was your least favorite. What's your most favorite hack that happened to you?
My favorite hack that happened to me? Oh, I don't know. Probably one that they got into some account that I hadn't shared a password or anything. I used a dummy email for it, and I just kind of laughed at it. I was like, well, that's fine.
No, there's no favorite compromise on our own accounts. It's the most vulnerable feeling in the world to have somebody poking around in your screens.
Mm-hmm.
So, on that note, my least favorite hack that happened to me, ICQ, which is going to be shutting down soon.
No kidding.
Oh,
My original ICQ account, I remember the number 813212. I didn't take password security seriously back then. I had a 4-character password. Somebody went in there, logged in, and deleted the account. And there was no way of recovering back then. And I spent time trying to talk to customer support, of which there was very little back then. So
Who'd you piss off to go just delete your account? They
back
didn't
then,
even want
probably anybody. I wasn't a good person back then.
it.
I have
That
an
was the
active
thing.
account.
I think when I was reading up on the Ticketmaster data breach, um, maybe I was just reading about some other ones, but it was going and talking about how, some of the motives behind some of the breaches, and some of them are, if you piss off the wrong employee and they get fired and they know some things, oh, you better be ready, because I mean they can do some damage. And
well, and that's one of those ones that I try and preach to people is principle of least access. If you've got people in a company that don't need access to like all the financials, if you got somebody that doesn't need access to all the shipping records, don't give them a password that gives them access to all the dollars and all the packages, because that doesn't make sense. Give them access to the systems they need, and it's not a restrictive thing. It's a preventative thing. It's I actually learned this the hard way on one of my early jobs. The boss, his computer got infected. Well, he had a password to the entire server, so all of the tools I had to recover things, he had read-write access to those folders too, and it nuked all my tools. So I had to rebuild the server from scratch, basically, because the whole thing got infected because everybody had access to all the folders everywhere. I trusted everybody. That was great. Unfortunately, when one of those guys got a virus, everybody had access to everything, so everything was infected.
yeah, it's not fun.
No,
Well, the other thing is
so
too is
I learned compartmentalization early.
the hard thing too is, or I guess this is good for me, as an IT person, you're hard to fire because that's a lot of passwords you got to change. If you have to fire your IT guy, that's not fun.
Well, and that's where you hire professional IT,
Yeah,
either people or support orgs like ours, because integrity is everything. If you don't trust that person, don't give them the keys to your house. Don't give them the keys to the car. If there's
tough
any
one.
doubt in a business owner's mind, if there's any doubt that person is not honest and a stand-up kind of individual, that's not the person to have in charge of your data, especially data being the new oil. You don't want that person in charge of what, the most sacred of things.
Yeah, because data makes or breaks a company. I mean, we've seen
Yep.
it. I mean, a loss of data or stolen data, I mean that can be business ending. And I think we talked
Well,
about that on a different stream.
yeah, loss of data is one of those. In baseball, there's forced errors and unforced errors. Loss of data is an unforced error, right? It's like you screwed up of your own accord, and like you had the chance. You snatched defeat from the jaws of victory. You've got you got the data in your hands, and you decide, yeah, I'm gonna save some money and go over here. No, test it. Run your backups. Run some disaster scenarios. Just what happens if, fire, flood, random act of weather comes through and destroys your office? Are you going to be able to preserve your data? Can you get up and running in a couple days, or are you done? You have to close your doors and tell all your customers, never mind. Act of God took us out of business. I prefer to have data in, like we've talked before, 3-2-1 backups. If it's backed up properly, it doesn't matter if there is an event that causes your building to go out. COVID proved we can work anywhere.
Unless it's like nuclear fallout, then I mean, good luck. At that point,
Yeah,
you have
well,
other problems.
that affects your customer base as well. So I mean,
Yeah.
If you get phone calls during fallout, take them, run with it. That's not somebody to ignore.
All these records got stolen. Well, they're dead anyway, so I don't think it's gonna matter much.
Don't
Hey,
worry.
so if we're talking about our least favorite hacks, I am the one that comes to my mind is again the last company. This is years and years ago. We were running our company website, and it got hacked.
Ooh.
I don't even know for sure 100% how it got hacked, or if there's. I kind of suspect that one of the employees may have clicked a link in an email or had visited a questionable site, compromised their own personal computer that went and visited the company website. I don't know. It was never very clear to me. But in the end, what ended up happening is that it was a WordPress driven site, and they're able to inject some code modifications so that there was malicious code running from the website. I don't know that to do anything terribly harmful other than just put a bunch of pop-ups and redirects to other websites. But even still, it's quite annoying and not good for when our customers go to visit our website, that then they get all these other pop-ups and everything. So that was
If
not fun because it was a matter of having to try to clean all that up, which actually meant basically flushing the entire system down the drain, finding the last good backup and reinstalling that backup. And then
Was that code red?
huh?
Was
I
that
don't
code red?
I don't know. I don't remember what it was exactly. It's just I had to basically just start over. I mean, I could go through and I could see in places where the code had been injected, but instead of trying to just remove the code, I was like, it's better if I just flush the whole thing out, start completely over, and reinstall the backup from the last known good backup.
yeah,
And then just figure out, like, okay, how far back did that take us? What are we missing? Is there anything critical that we were missing out of that? And actually, it ended up kind of being an opportunity too to make some changes and redesign the site a little bit anyway. But after that, the very next thing that I did is I went and I found there's plugins that you can get. There's other site tools, and check with your host providers and see what tools that they're offering as far as security too, and try to enable as much of that security as you can. And once I got the right tools and plugins and other things going on, I never had a problem after that. I mean, and we made sure everything stayed locked down. I mean, it was a lockdown website to begin with. It's not like we allowed users to register. We didn't allow comments to be made on any of our pages or posts or anything. We locked all that out to try to limit the amount of potential vulnerabilities, uh, to the website, and they still got in probably through a SQL injection or something like that. Who knows? But having those plugins and then checking with the host provider to say, hey, what else do you offer? What else can we use to protect and guard against this? And then enabling that. And we never had another problem after that.
That's good.
Yeah,
Well, I
that's
wanted to know.
reminiscent of the heydays of the internet. Go ahead.
I just wanted to know who's, because thinking about that, say you go to a site that's been infected with some sort of malware, um, say it infects your system and it's maybe a little bit more sophisticated and it actually puts itself on your system, someone who's just browsing the website, who's liable at that point? Do you as the company that owns that website, do they become liable for any damages?
That
I
gets
don't know if
very nuanced
yeah, anyway,
because
I didn't assume you'd
you have
have a
to.
good answer.
The only answer I could offer is you got to prove negligence on somebody's part because even with all the best of intentions, best of efforts, and highest level of security, the Pentagon gets hacked. Right? It's the number one target in the world, and a few people are successful at it. We'll never know who they are because that's not our place to know. But it's yeah.
So, comment from chat. My favorite hack is Matthew Broderick in War Games.
I love that
Oh,
movie.
yeah. I'm sorry, chat. You're gonna have to get a little bit better than that. There's a lot of hacks in that. My favorite from War Games was when he's at a payphone and he starts looking down at the ground and he finds a metal tab from the top of the old pop cans
Top, yeah.
and he grounds out the phone to make a
Mhm.
call. That's actually a real hack, guys.
Yeah.
That's a legit thing that used to work on payphones.
My
Um,
favorite one from War Games was when he breaks out of the infirmary. And the only reason he's able to do that is because the security guard is so hot on the secretary nurse that's sitting there that he's not doing his job. And maybe that gets back to our, what level of security guard are you paying for there? But
yep.
I recently saw on social media an old episode of Top Gear where they, I don't know if you guys have seen this. He pulls out the hazard button and he flips it upside down, plugs it back in, and the car's ignition turns on. And so he just roll start it. And that to me is that's hilarious.
Yeah, there's lots of little hacks out there like that. But Mike, to your point, the human element is the weak link in any security chain. He was not paying attention because he was highly distracted with something he was interested in. So he gave away the code to get out. But yeah, there's a lot of good movies out there with some legit hacks in them. I love playing the game of is that real or is it not?
Yeah, what are some films that just make you bang your head on your desk, and what are some that you appreciate for their truthfulness to tech? Because something that I've realized, I don't know why I've just started realizing it, but I mean they do it forever because I don't think in Hollywood they don't want to show someone using like Windows or some known operating system, so it's always just like CGI or some fake operating system, and it does impossible things, and it's last
Okay,
night I was
okay.
watching The Accountant. Have you ever seen that one?
It's my most headbang moment ever is when you have somebody hotwire your car by pulling two wires and sparking them, and then it starts the car, and then they twist them together. It's like,
You love
oh,
when they like brush them against each other and just spark them, and I'm thinking, oh man, no. But I was
oh,
watching
short
The
your bet.
Accountant last night with that's got Ben Affleck. Have you guys seen that?
I
I have
think I've
not.
seen it once.
It's a good movie, really good movie. As I think that's on my top 20 now. That's a good movie. But I mean, it's watching she's not even like a main character, but she kind of is. She just it's a kind of a company. There's kind of multiple plots going on, but anyway, we see her enough, and she's always on her computer, and just watching her interface with the computer is it's like they've never touched a keyboard before, and it's just painful to watch. It's funny.
I love how in movies most actors don't have a screen to look at. Sometimes it's just black, sometimes it's a random picture. It's not what they're supposed to do, and they're the director says, "Okay, this is what happened. Now react to it." Happens way more than people realize.
Yeah, because it's hard to film. You can't. I mean, you can't film like a live screen just because of refresh rate. I mean, it's not gonna look good, so they have to green screen everything.
You can now, depending upon how you set up the cameras.
Mm-hmm.
Antitrust was one of the first ones where they actually played the video that the actor was supposed to respond to. That's a great one. It's kind of like a Bill Gates or Mark Zuckerberg kind of billionaire that is an innovator, but he's not, and a kid just exposes it. It's got a real cult classic kind of feel to it. See, he gets away with the source code and posts it online for everybody. Kind of cheesy, but cool movie, anyways.
It's like Tron, beginning of Tron.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a lot of great movies out there. Man, I might go home and watch War Games now. Jeez. Those
I'm trying to think. I don't think I've ever seen that one.
It's an older one.
Oh, you have
Oh.
got to see War Games.
It's a good
No,
one.
okay, I've seen. That's right. I've seen
I was 8 years old when
parts of it.
when I
And
saw that.
Sneakers.
Sneakers is another good one that I like.
Sneakers.
You seen that
Hackers
one,
is
Jackson?
fun.
Sneakers.
Okay, that's got some cringe moments in it, but it's also got some cool. But yeah, if you want to see tech done wrong on screen, Hackers.
Oh no.
BLT drive when
I always love
AWOL.
What was that?
It does show social engineering quite well.
Yeah.
I always
not
love
tech.
the one of the worst offenders. Oh man, I think it was the last James Bond movie they made. Oh, that one just set me off. The technology in that one was so bad. And it was just like like they have an image and she goes, "Oh, make it clearer." And pixels just appear out of nowhere. And it becomes, like 4 pixels turn into 1920 by 1080. And then he's got like oh, I'm gonna hack into the system, and it's like 2 seconds. He's like, "I'm in," and I'm like, I hate those. Always make me angry.
One
That's
of
like
my
a
in
brief
an
on
ant.
CSI, isn't it? Or
What's that?
NCIS?
one of my
See, I
favorite
never watched
responses
those.
to those kinds of things is enhance the screen. We just zoomed in. This is the best you're gonna get.
I know it's like enhance the image. It was seriously offensive to me as someone who works in tech. Like that one, like usually I'm like, okay, yeah, sure, AI can do some sort of enhancement there, but that one was bad.
Here's 4 pixels. Give me that guy's driver's license number.
Yeah.
And the AI just goes down and finds it in the DMV database and then generates an image using that.
AP.
Yeah. Those are exciting ones. Just like those that know the tech and what the limits are, just look at those and say, now I can't enjoy this film anymore. Like
From
at
chat.
least I can. Like
From
what's
chat,
that?
we've got AI enhance that image, but add a man riding a squirrel to it.
As long as the squirrel is Scrat from Ice Age.
From Ice Age.
Well, I think we're at time.
Well, that's too bad because I think we're on a roll here, but no, a good conversation, guys. This has been awesome. Well, I think we'll wrap up the 5th episode ever. Again, this is John with WIO Support. I want you all to be out there, stay cautious, stay safe, and yeah, Anybody else got closing thoughts?
Not for me.
We need to come up with like a little ending quip, a little slogan.
Good night, Gracie.
Good night, Artie.
Could have an animation of us on a rug and somebody yanks the rug out from underneath us. Could
Have
be
us
a,
all fall
could be a
through
lot
a
of fun.
trapdoor.
We'll run that through ChatGPT and see what pictures they come up with.
Nice.
No, I'm kidding on that. I much prefer the human element. Anyways, thank you all for watching. Salutations.
See you guys later.
Yeah.